Peace, family. Vicki Dillard here. So pleased to be a contributor on African Diaspora News Channel. Please make sure you give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast. Thank you so very much. Now, family, I have been teaching on some different platforms over the years for quite some time, but I believe this is a very important thing to take note of in this particular circumstance. We have been seeing an absolute epidemic of the terrorism of these Karens. I mean, even Beyonce in her latest album called them terrorists, and specifically talked about the Karens in one of her songs. This is important, and of course, we discussed that here on African Diaspora News Channel. The reason it's important is because sometimes we don't understand why we keep coming up against resistance, or we are not moving progressively toward black economic freedom, you understand. And this is important to understand that one of the main reasons is, as I was going through this report, one of the things it discussed about the WKKK, for those of you that are not familiar with that, the WKKK is the Women's Ku Klux Klan. And what folks have to understand is not only did the Ku Klux Klan resurge in the early 20th century, and this had to do with the movie that was, believe it or not, premiered in the White House. Talk black to me, somebody. The Birth of the Nation. That was the original movie that had that name before Nate Parker came out and did his about the Black revolutionary, Nat Turner. But I want you to look at the blueprint to Black destruction in part. The WKK, the women's branch of the Ku Klux Klan, they were considered more powerful. And in fact, do you know that they had labels where they were labeling the women the invisible government? One of the titles or appellations they received also had the word poison in it. Because when you take someone out through poison, it's not obvious. And in fact, sometimes when a person is poisoned, that person in and of themselves take either the food or the drink or something of that nature, not knowing, because it's hidden. It's not a weapon that's all out. You understand? This was the role and the function of white women. So when we see the rise of the terrorist Karens that's running around America and our planet, doing what they do, it's not a small thing. One of the things that I wanted to point out for us today was that I'm reading here from this piece that says the women's Klan of the 1920s was not only a way to promote racist, intolerant, and xenophobic policies, but also a social setting in which to enjoy their own racial and religious privileges. Y'all need to pay attention to that. Not only that, it discusses the fact of why they emphasize wearing white. The early 1900s were dotted with white symbolism and supremacy. White suffragist suits were not only designed for starkness, but to emphasize femininity that many label suffragists as devoid of, undercutting them as mannish and ugly. The color white unmistakably is also a symbol of purity. This is what they wanted to ensure, that your conscious and subconscious minds are associated with white women and the white and all of this kind of stuff, to associate them with purity. This is the reason why they were able to lure us to destruction. Literally, many of our lives, towns, and cities were ended. Many of our people were lynched. We were destroyed in large part because of the women in their lives. Not only that, in a book called They Were Her Property, this beautiful professor mentions that when she was doing one particular study in a particular area for a 10-year study, she found that 40% of the slaves in that particular region were owned by white women. And that it was the white women that would often go to court to ensure that she fought to keep her slaves in case there was some sort of a battle between her and her husband. Not only that, there were reports from some of the Black enslaved that talked about how the woman was oftentimes even more vicious, and that it was that Miss Ann, it was that Karen during chattel slavery that was responsible for setting the Black woman to be assaulted, sexually assaulted, not just by another enslaved Black man against his will, but it was that Karen that set her to be assaulted by her own man. These are facts. The other big part is it was the white woman with the WKKK, the Women's Ku Klux Klan, that helped to strategically implement anti-racist policies, anti-Black racism to the educational system and through churches and through social and civic groups. They're very dangerous. Pay attention to that. That's some undoing that we have to do. And making it now a revolution to teach our own babies and to, of course, empower the Black woman to do what the original woman is known for doing, and that's bringing life and taking charge of our families as the first mother. Talk Black to me, somebody. It's a reason we call it the mother tongue. There's so much magic in that, but I wanted to put that out to put some things into context so that you would understand that the situation we're in, Black family, is intentional. It's socially engineered, but we have the wisdom and the wherewithal to begin to undo it if we first recognize what's been done and be about the business of doing it together, no matter our numbers, if we move as a unit. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Vicki Dillard. I can't wait to hear your comments about this below. Be sure to check out my website at vickiplanet.com, and also be sure to subscribe to my new weekly channel at vickidillard.tv. I can't wait to see you again.